Dear students, now let us start ninth lesson, gravitation. In this, the first topic is Kepler laws. There are three laws. The first law is about orbits. All planets move in elliptical orbits, not circular orbits. The earlier astronomers assumed that all the planets moved around Sun in circular orbits, but Kepler told that the planets are moving around Sun in elliptical orbits. With Sun situated at one of the foci. See, an ellipse has two focus points. So, Sun will be at one of the foci. This is Sun, and say this is planet. Now, this P is nearest to the Sun, so this is called perihelion. Perihelion means nearest point to Sun, and this A is called aphelion point. This aphelion point is farthest from the Sun. On orbit. Now see, the distance from P to A is 2A, and this PA is called major axis. And its length is 2A. Now this BC, see, half of this, that is PO or OA, that is called semi major axis. This is equal to A. Now next BC. BC is called minor axis. Its length is 2B, and half of this is called semi-minor axis, and this is equal to B. And this is equal to B. Now S and S dash are focus points. S and S dash are focus points. So this is Kepler's first law. Now let us go for Kepler's second law. This is second law is called law of areas. Law of areas. major axis, minor axis, perihelion, aphelion. Oh, this is one focus point, this is another focus point. Let Sun is situated at this focus point. Now, at an instant, a planet was here, suppose. This is the line joining Sun and planet. See, after some time, it came here. And now, the line joining the planet is this one. See, time taken to move from here to here is say 1 month. In 1 month time, suppose this planet is Earth. Earth takes how much time to complete one revolution around Sun? 1 year. 1 year means 12 months. So if you divide the path into 12 equal parts, approximately here to here will be 1 month distance. Okay. So at this place, you consider a planet moving from here to here, and time taken is 1 month, and the line joining the Sun and planet during this 1 month time swept this much area. Say this is delta A. Now let us consider here the same planet after some time came here. Let us join Sun to planet, and exactly after 1 month time this came here. Now again join a line joining planet and this. See here, again you have taken 1 month time. So in 1 month time this planet moved from here to here, and the line joining the Sun and planet swept this much area. See, whatever Kepler says, you have taken same time. See, let me write here delta T. This is delta T. What he says, during same time intervals, the area swept also will be same. That is Kepler's second law. Look at the statement. The line that joins any planet to the Sun sweeps equal areas in equal intervals of time. Now let us prove this second law. See, this is position vector R, and this is initial position vector, this is final position vector of after 1 month of time. Now during 1 month of time the planet has undergone a displacement. This is displacement. Displacement is shown by delta R, and see, in addition of vectors, suppose this is A and this is B, this gives sum of A and B. Similarly, if this is R and this is delta R, this gives sum of these two. Now we want to find area swept. This is a triangle. See, let us take two vectors like this. This is A vector. This is B vector. The angle between these two is theta. Now, the area covered by these two vectors. This is the area covered by these two vectors. Now, A cross B is equal to C. Vector product of two vectors give another vector. And this is perpendicular to the plane, and direction is decided by right-handed screw law. You imagine screw moved from A to B. A to B means in anti-clockwise direction. If you rotate the screw anti-clockwise, it comes up. That's why C vector is shown like this. Now, magnitude. Magnitude of A cross B is given by AB sin theta. It is given by AB sin theta. Now, we want area of this triangle. Area of the triangle is equal to half into base into height. Base is A, height is, let us draw a perpendicular. See, if this is theta and this is B, this is V, this will be B cos theta and this will be B sin theta. So half into base into height. So you get 1 by 2 AB sin theta. AB sin theta is nothing but A cross B. Its magnitude delta A. But actually area, total surface area is a scalar, but when you consider area of a small element, that is taken as vector, and the direction of the area is taken perpendicular to the surface. See, this is the area, small area, and to this is the perpendicular direction. This area direction is shown by a perpendicular. You remember, only small elemental area can be considered as vector, not total surface area of the ellipse. So now you need not put mod like this. You can write directly A cross B. Now here, now considering our diagram, for our triangle, the adjacent sides are here R plus 2 R plus delta R plus delta R. Now by distributive property, distributive law, R cross R plus R cross delta R. But R cross R is 0. Why? Because these two are one and the same vectors, and the angle between them will be 0, and sine 0 is 0. Sine 0 is 0, therefore its magnitude becomes 0. Now this remains. Now let me write that here. So we calculated area of the triangle. Now divide the equation by delta t. Delta A divided by delta t. R cross delta R by delta t. Now this is displacement, this is time. Displacement by time gives velocity. Now let us multiply the numerator and the denominator by m. But mass into velocity is equal to momentum. Therefore, you can write R cross P. R cross P. But R cross P is equal to L, angular momentum. Therefore, 1 by 2m into L. So delta A by delta T is equal to L by 2m. Now let us stop here. And now this angular momentum for the planet moving around Sun, whether its angular momentum changes, see whether its angular momentum changes or remains constant. Let us see that. The force working on the planet by the Sun. This is F, and R, this is position vector. The force vector and position vector are oppositely directed. Therefore, the angle between F and R is 180 degrees. Okay. Now the planet is moving around Sun. So this is angular motion, elliptical motion. In case of linear motion, we speak of force, and in case of angular motion, we speak about torque. Now let us calculate torque produced by the attracting force. Torque produced by this gravitational force by, or this can be called as centripetal force also. Torque produced by the force on planet by Sun. See, what is the expression for torque? What is the equation for torque? Torque is defined as R cross F r, if you consider its magnitude, tau is equal to rf sin theta. Theta is the angle between r and f. Here the angle between r and f, r is to right hand side, f is to left hand side. The angle between them is 180 degrees. So rf sin 180, but sin 180 value is 0, so is equal to 0. So here we got torque produced by the force on P by Sun is 0. But 0. But let us consider Newton's second law. What is Newton's second law? F is equal to ma. How this equation comes? Basic, what is the statement for Newton's second law? External force exerted is directly proportional to rate of change of linear momentum. F is equal to delta P by delta T. So this is for linear motion. For the angular motion, we can write, in place of force, torque comes. In place of linear momentum, we get angular momentum. This is time period. This is Newton's second law for linear motion. This is Newton's second law for angular motion or rotational motion or revolution, motion of revolution. But for the planet which is moving around Sun, torque is 0. If delta L by delta T is 0, this implies L is equal to constant. L is equal to constant. Now you see here, for delta A by delta T we got this equation. Here mass of the planet constant and L also constant. So this entire right hand side is constant. Now you can write, therefore equation 1 implies that delta A by delta T is constant. Here, what delta A by delta T suggests? See, delta R by delta T means here displacement by time gives velocity. Similarly, area by time gives areal velocity. So, areal velocity of a planet is constant. It means, see, areal velocity means area covered in 1 second. Area covered in 1 second is constant. You can consider area covered in 1 second anywhere on the orbit, and that is constant. In this way you proved the law of areas. Now let us consider Kepler's third law, that is also called as law of periods. The square of the time period of revolution of a planet, time period, and proportional to the cube of square of the time period is proportional to the cube of the semi-major axis. Semi-major axis means A, cube of the ellipse traced by the planet. See, according to this law, see, T means what? Time period, time taken by the planet to complete one revolution. and A means semi-major axis OA or OP. So according to this law, T square is directly proportional to AQ. This suggests that T square by A cube will be a constant. For any planet, there are 9 planets. For 9 planets, this ratio calculated will give the same value, and the table is given in our textbook. Let us see. Now look at the table 9.1. See here, 3, 6, 9. 9 planets are given here. In the second column, A value, semi-major axis value given. In the third column, time period is given. And in the fourth column, the ratio between T square and A cube is taken. So this square by this cube is equal to 2.95. Similarly, this square divided by this cube. So if you look at these values, they are almost same. It means T square by A cube is a constant, and it means Kepler's third law is verified. Now look at the example 9.1. Let the speed of the planet at the perihelion be Vp. At perihelion, the velocity is Vp. But in which direction it must be taken, whether upward or downward? Let us see here. Will the planet take equal times to traverse BAC and CPB? BAC. So in this way it is moving. So here at a aphelion point, the velocity should be shown downward. And at perihelion, it must be shown upward. Let speed of the planet at perihelion Vp and the sun planet distance SP be Rp. SP. See, this is Rp. Distance between sun and planet. Sun and perihelion point. Similarly, distance between sun and aphelion point is RA. And this is Rp. Relate RPVP to corresponding quantities at aphelion, that is RAVA. So this is the now we have to find this. Just now we proved that for a planet moving around sun, L is a constant anywhere on the orbit. So let us choose two places, one aphelion place, another perihelion place. So at both places, angular momentum is same, that is LP is equal to LA. And the equation for L, see, L is defined as R cross P, R, P means MV. The angle between R and V, this is R, this is V, and the angle between them is 90 degrees. Therefore, and here let us write M initially, afterwards RV, or you can write like this, R cross V RV sin theta. RV sin theta, but theta is 90 degrees, so its value becomes 1 MVR. L is equal to MVR. L is equal to MVR. L is equal to MVR. At perihelion point, its velocity is Vp and distance Rp. At aphelion point, velocity Va and distance Ra. M gets cancelled. And now Vp by Va is equal to Ra by Rp. Now look at the diagram. Ra is greater than Rp. Since Ra is greater than Rp, therefore, if this is greater than this, then this also will be greater than this. So this is the relation, and this relation implies this. So one thing that what this suggests is the planet is moving on elliptical orbit, but it is not traveling with a constant speed. Its speed is changing. When it is nearer to the perihelion, when it is nearer to the perihelion point, or when the planet comes closer to the sun, when the planet comes closer to the sun, its velocity is large, greater, and when it goes farther from sun, its velocity is becoming less. So in this way, the velocity is continuously changing. Now, how to you can remember whether Vp is more or Va is more to remember. See here, when planet comes closer to the sun, it is very hot. Our planet can't tolerate that much heat, therefore it moves with more velocity. It tries to escape the hot sun. That's why when it is nearer to the sun, it has more velocity, and when it moves farther from the sun, the hotness is decreased, therefore it can move slowly. In this problem, another thing is, will the planet take equal times to traverse BAC and CPB? Now we have to compare the time taken. Compare time taken to move from B to C through A, and time taken to move from C to B through P. Let us compare these two times, whether they are equal or unequal. If unequal, which is greater and which is lesser. So time is equal to distance by speed. Time is equal to distance by speed. Now T BAC. So what is the distance BAC? What is the speed VA? Similarly for CPB. For this, what is the distance CPB? Velocity VP. Now let us take a ratio of these two times. First equation divided by second equation gives on right hand side BAC by VA, and this written reversed. You look at the diagram, BAC distance, CPB distance, same. But VP, this velocity when planet is at perihelion point, it is nearer to the sun, very hot, therefore here its velocity is more. So VP is more than VA. Since VP is more than VA, TBAC will be more than TCPB also. See, with common sense also we can tell distance is same. Here planet will be moving slowly, therefore it will take more time. Here planet is moving fast, therefore it will take less time. The same thing is we arrived at. But we can reach this result in another way also. And that is making use of Kepler's second law. Making use of Kepler's second law. Kepler's second law is the law of areas. According to the Kepler's second law, equal areas are swept, equal areas are swept in equal intervals of time. Now let us look at the diagram. First one, BAC. The planet is moving from B to C. When the planet is at B, or let us draw the diagram here itself. Perihelion point, aphelion point B, C, O. This is Sun, and okay. Now first our planet is here. Line joining Sun and planet. Afterwards that planet moving through A reached C. This is initial position, this is final position. So the area swept by this line in moving from B to C through A, this line swept this much area by reaching C point. Now afterwards the planet will be moving from C to B through P. See this area, say this area is nearer to aphelion point and this area is nearer to perihelion point. Suppose this area nearer to aphelion point and this area is this white part nearer to perihelion point. Just looking at the diagram, you can say this area is large, this area is small. See, equal areas are swept in equal intervals of time. That means unequal areas are swept in unequal intervals of time. And you can say more area is swept in more time, less area is swept in less time, because we already proved that aerial velocity, see, this is the statement now, this can be expressed in another way also, Kepler's second law. What is that? Aerial velocity is constant. Aerial velocity is constant. Area swept in 1 second is constant wherever you take. Whether you take it at perihelion point or you take it perihelion point, the area swept in 1 second is constant. So now, making use of this statement, looking at the diagram, area swept near a perihelion point is larger than area swept at a perihelion point. So to sweep out a large area, more time is required. And here the time required is Tp, suppose Ti is greater than Tp. Ti is greater than Tp. So we proved the same thing. Ta is greater than Tp. According to this Kepler's second law, equal areas are swept in equal intervals of time. Large area is swept in large time. Small area is swept in small time. This is large area, therefore here more time is taken. Here the area is small, therefore small time is taken. In this diagram you can see moon is revolving around earth and the orbit is almost circular. See, to make an object move in a circle, centripetal force is required. Centripetal force means force working towards center of the circle. Here, which force is working as centripetal force? That force is gravitational force. Here, Earth's gravitational pull, Earth's gravitational force on moon. But still no expression was invented for Earth's gravitational pull on any body. So since here the gravitational force is towards the center of the earth, therefore this is taken as a centripetal force, and centripetal force expression we know. Expression for centripetal force is mv square by r. Now m is available, we have to find speed of the moon. Speed is equal to distance by time. So if time is taken, if we consider time taken by the moon to complete one revolution, that is called time period. During one time period, the moon is completing one revolution, means one revolution is equal to the circumference of the circle. If the distance between Earth and Moon is Rm, then the circumference will be 2 pi Rm. Substituting this value here, the centripetal force becomes four pi square Rm. See here Rm, centripetal force Rm. So 4 pi square Rm by T square, and here M is there. Now force produces acceleration. Acceleration produced by this force say, according to Newton's second law, F is equal to ma, or A is equal to F by m. That is, force by mass gives acceleration. Force by mass gives acceleration. Force is by mass. Force by mass. So this is acceleration. Say this acceleration is, now let us find the value. Now let us substitute the values here. T means time period. Time taken by the moon to complete one revolution around Earth is 27.3 days. And 1 day is equal to 86,400 seconds. Here 3.84 to 10 to the power of 8 into 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeters. Substituting these values in this, you get acceleration produced in moon will be the value we get 0.27 centimeter per second square. Similarly, for apple, in the apple, how much acceleration is produced by the attracting earth? That we know. Acceleration produced in apple by earth. And that is nothing but G value, that is 981 centimeter per second square. Now let us take a moon by a apple. Sorry, a apple by a moon. This is 981. This is 0.27. We get 3640. Now see, the moon is at a distance of Rm. From here to here the distance is Rm. Moon is at a distance of Rm from Earth. Apple is at a distance of Re from here, Earth center, not Earth center. From Earth center to Moon center, the distance is Rm, and from Earth center to Apple means, see, the height from surface of the Earth to Apple is negligible compared to radius of the Earth. From here to here, this is the radius of Earth. So we take the distance between Apple and Earth as radius of Earth only, Re value. This is actually H, but this H is far less than Re, therefore we neglect this H value. So that is Re only from Earth center. Now which will be larger? Rm will be larger. So let us take ratio between Rm and Re. By substituting the values we get 60.3, and from this squaring on both sides, we get 3640. See, for the first equation and second equation, RHS is same. If RHS is same, LHS must be same. Therefore, A apple by A moon is equal to, see, A apple, instead of A apple, you can write AE. And here, Rm by Re whole square. Now from this you can write AE is inversely proportional to Re square. And this is inverse, and this is in the denominator and this is in the numerator. Therefore you can write acceleration produced in the moon is inversely proportional to Rm square. We can generalize this. Acceleration is inversely proportional to R square. But now, see, there is Newton's first law and second law, F is equal to ma. M is a constant, therefore you can write F directly proportional to A. So F is directly proportional to A and A is directly proportional to 1 by R square. This tells you that F is directly proportional to 1 by R square. Means what? The Earth's gravitational pull is inversely proportional to square of the distance. So Based on the experimental data, substituting the experimental data, he arrived at this, and based on this Newton prepared a statement. What is that statement? The force of attraction between any two bodies is directly proportional to product of the masses and inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Our next topic is universal law of gravitation. Every body in the universe attracts every other body with a force which is directly proportional to product of the masses and inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. Say suppose its mass is m1, its mass is m2, then the force of attraction between them is directly proportional to product of the masses and inversely proportional to the distance between them. So from this we get F is equal to G m1 m2 by r square, where G is called universal gravitational constant. So in the space, let us take mass m1 here, and its a position vector. See, this is origin. Its a position vector is r1. Let us take another mass here. This is m2. Its position vector is r2, and the distance between them, if you want to find the distance between them, this is given by r12 bar. See here, in which direction this must be shown. Let us look at here. This is r2, this is r1, no, this one. Actually, r12 is defined as r2 minus r1. This is defined as r2 minus r1. See, if to this vector this is added, plus r1 minus r1 gets cancelled, we get r2, so equal to this. So here the arrow mark will be like this. Sum of this vector and this vector is this vector. Now the force here, m1 is attracting m2 in this direction. Force, say this is 1, this is 2, body 1, body 2. Force on 2 by 1 and in this direction. So this is pulling this body, this is exerting force, pulling force on this. So force on 1 by 2. So here by Newton's second law, by Newton's third law, F21 is equal to, let me write here, by Newton's third law, F21 is equal to minus F12. These two forces are equal in magnitude and opposite in direction. And this F is nothing but the common value. Force on force on M2 by M1. That means what? This M1 is attracting this. So that is given by 2, 1. Force on 2 by 1 is equal to G M1 M2 by, the distance between these two is R12 square, R12 square. So this is magnitude. Now we should show the direction. So the direction is in this direction. Because this is attracting this. Now let me write here a unit vector along R12, a unit vector along R12 to show the direction. See here, R12 is downward, F21 is upward. They are oppositely directed. To show that, here we put minus sign. This and this are oppositely directed. So this is the equation, mathematical equation. Suppose you don't want a minus sign here. Here, instead of R12, you can write R21. Here also R21. Now minus sign doesn't come. Why? Means F21 is upward and R21 also upward. Both are in the same direction. R21 means where R21 means R1 minus R2. It is minus of R2 minus R1. That is minus R12. So R21 is equal to minus R12. So in place of minus R12, I wrote plus R21. You can express the equation either in this form or in this form. Both are one and the same. So F21 is over. Now you want F12 by Newton's third law. F12 is nothing but minus F21. That's all. Here we put bar. There is magnitude is same, but they are opposite directed. That's all. Let us do some problems on law of gravitation. Two spherical balls of each of mass 1 kg, that is m1 is equal to m2 is equal to 1 kg, are placed 1 centimeter apart. The distance is 1 centimeter, that is 0.01 meter. Find the gravitational force of attraction between them. So F is equal to G m1 m2 by r square. G value is 6.67 into 10 to the power of minus 11 into m1 1 kg into 1 kg by or 0.01 square. From this we get the value 6.67 into 10 to the power of minus 7 newtons. Now let us see the second problem. The mass of a ball is 4 times the mass of another ball. If m1 is m, m2 is 4m. When these balls are separated by a distance of 10 centimeters, that is 0.1 meter, the force of attraction between them is 6.67 into 10 to the power of minus 7 newtons. Find the masses. So m1 is equal to how much and m2 is equal to how much. See, the formula is F is equal to G m1 m2 by r square. So substituting in this 6.67 into 10 to the power of minus 7 is equal to G value 6.67 into 10 to the power of minus 11. m1 is m, m2 is 4m by r square 0.1 square. So here 6.61 gets cancelled. 4m square is equal to 10 to the power of minus 7 into 0.1 square by 10 power 11. 10 power 11. Sorry, 10 power minus 11. Now m. So this is 5 kg, this is 20 kg. Now let us solve seventh problem. The gravitational force of attraction between two objects decreases by 36%. That means what? If F1 is 100, F2 will be 100 minus 36, that is 64 newtons. When the distance between them is increased by 4 meters, it means initially the distance is suppose r, and now the second distance is increased by 4 meters. So now The law of gravitation is F is equal to G m1 m2 by r square. See here the bodies are constant, therefore masses same, masses are not changed. So in this problem, when the distance between the masses was r, the force of attraction was 100 newtons, and when the distance was increased by 4 meters, the force has fallen to 64 newtons. So it means force is changing with distance between them. So what is the relation between force and distance? F inversely proportional to r square. So this implies F1 by F2 is equal to R2 by R1 square, because it is inversely proportional. Now substituting the values, F1 is 100, F2 is 64, R2 is R plus 4, R1 is R. So when the square is brought this side, square root of 100 by 64. So cross multiplying, 10r is equal to 8r plus 8 for the 32, or 10r minus 8r 2r is equal to 32, or r is equal to 60 meters. So what is the original distance between the body? The original distance is r, so this is the original distance.